Welcome one and all, we're going to design a Barbie doll. I hate to say this, but I was inspired by the controversial Ken doll. I think he's actually quite cute. Looks like a queen trying to live his best life. And I thought to myself, you know, a lot of people don't like him, but if I designed a Barbie to go with him, maybe people would like him more. Although I think the real issue is just how his face was painted. He's real uggo. I'm going to show you my original designs when I was in maybe like the 4th grade, somewhere around there. So just in case you start wondering, you start thinking that, oh, I can't do this, you know, you really can. You just have to like work at it, and then you can actually do this. This was the first Barbie outfit that I remember making with my brand newly purchased hot glue gun. I always had an interest in making my Barbie's clothes, but sewing, because I didn't have a sewing machine at the time, really took a lot of my time. And I remember complaining to my mom, saying I wanted a sewing machine, but mind you, I was maybe in the 2nd or 3rd grade whenever I said this, and she said, no. But she bought me a hot glue gun, and that's how I started. So I started drafting patterns, and instead of sewing, I would just hot glue the seams together. So I've always had a fascination with Barbie as an astronaut, and I made this little astronaut costume. It's so funny like to see this, and I always pull this out just to show myself how far I've come. But it shows you like the imagination of a child, and how like I'm not going to make this today, but at that time I thought this was just everything. Admittedly, I did not have any of the fabrics. This is actually from like one of those 25-cent little machines, vending machines that you would get like a little toy in. And this fabric is made out of my mom's work pants. And I literally went to the laundry room and took a pair of her dirty work pants and cut right into it. And later on she said, Dakota, have you seen my work pants? And I was like, no. But I even made like these little boots made out of stocking, which also came from my mother's closet. The khaki was from the pants, and the lighter cotton was from the pockets. And we used to do Bible school a lot, so these little beads are from like a little Bible school box we used to have full of supplies. And here are the closures on the back. I definitely stole these buttons too. And the yarn I think I had, but as you can see, I made a mistake right there, so I just moved things up so that they would match. Oh my gosh, this looks so shoddy. But even from there, I became better at drafting patterns, and this is another outfit that I made later on, and you can see I've started using Velcro at that time, and she has real pockets. I remember loving this costume, and it looked great on my bubble cut Barbie. And this was a wrap I made. I remember putting all my Barbies in this. I thought it was so chic and so pretty. And I made like a pantsuit to go underneath of it, but I don't know where that is. Eventually my mom got into quilting, so I was able to use her sewing machine. Now I didn't start making outfits like this. I made an outfit like this whenever I was in middle school. And I remember just being so proud of this one. And I made a little travel outfit with like a little pillbox hat to match. And I was so proud of this one. And then I made this beautiful gown, and I was super proud of this one. And I said, oh my gosh, I love it. This fabric is from my Nana Net. And I believe this was upholstery fabric from a chair she had upholstered. And I just remember no Barbie was safe, because I dressed them all in these outfits. And I've made more and more and more outfits. Like I've even made this one. This one was a favorite outfit of mine. But I have gotten rid of them over the years because they're not really ones I put on dolls anymore. They're just kind of from my childhood. They're not really official Barbie or anything like that, and they're not really that well made, so I just like to keep them. But I just want to show you just like how far you can come, and don't be intimidated by this project because I assure you that you can do this as well. First thing first, you start off with a design always. Sometimes you may even feel the need to refine and make another one. So I went out and I got all the supplies that I felt like I was going to need, and I set myself a budget for $50. I did that purposely so that way you could see your profit, as I went into the mindset of, what if I mass produce these just like the Ken Kouture doll, which is 100% $100. So even though Mattel spends less money than what I did to make this doll, it just shows that they are fully capable of making this doll, even with the outrageous Hobby Lobby and Michael's prices I paid. I decided to use the Odile mold because I'm so done with the Millie sculpt. And side note, getting this new face paint that's all kinds of pixeled off with acetone is really just hoping for a miracle. It does not come off. I did, however, decide to keep her eyebrows on so that way I would have a nice little template whenever I got ready to paint. The original intent of my design is Barbie core meets classic Barbie meets cunty. I want them all to be combined. I want her to almost look like she could win Drag Race. And now that the face paint is off, I went in with Mr. Super Clear. And while that was drying, I went and I drafted myself some patterns on some printer paper, and I decided to cut into the fabric. The light pink fabric that I chose, I actually made a dress out of for myself, so it was pretty special. So now I have a glamorous dress out of this fabric, and so does my Barbie. So decided to line this fabric with the fuchsia pink satin, which the color fuchsia to me is such a Barbie pink. The Barbie dress that was the biggest inspiration for me when designing this was Enchanted Evening, which was originally made in a pale pink fabric as well. I decided to design it with the 2 shades of pink to show how far Barbie has come with the color pink. Because what's Barbie core without the color pink? Now on to the face. To start with, I'm going to be using watercolor pencils. And since I'm going for a vintage inspired look, I decided to have a little bubble cut head right next to me. Here I have the template for how I want my paint to look, and here it is painted. I wanted to give her a whole bunch of sass, but also make her look a little bit sweet at the same time. Now on to ironing. What could be more fun than ironing? I don't know, maybe root canal. I like to spray on a nice and generous supply of starch. Just makes it a lot easier to sew and then makes it look nicer whenever it is sewn. I'm also putting on an interfacing onto the bodice. It will just make it have more structure. And I'm going to put that onto the light pink. I'm not going to put that onto the dark pink because that might make it just a little bit more bulky. I also am going to use just a little bit of pins to hold the bigger items together so that way the satin doesn't slip and slide, because nothing will kill the vibe more than having to use seam rippers, except maybe having to iron. And on to sewing. Going to start off by sewing the lining, and I'm not going to use pins. That's because this is a small piece of fabric. I'm just going to do it by hand. Just make sure to take your time, otherwise your sewing machine might eat up your piece of fabric if you're not too careful. I've sewn the lining to the front, and I'm going to turn it inside out. And here it is on. It almost looks like it's corseted. Time to sew up the skirt, make it look good. Now this is at the point where I start looking at things and I start deciding whether or not it's a good pattern or not, or whether I should go back to the drawing board. But lucky for me, this is a project that just seemed to work. I glued some glitter onto the front and onto the back of this shoe, just to nod to the original shoes that came with Enchanted Evening. Now I've skipped ahead of the reroot and doing the hairstyling because I think that that's just so boring. And now I'm working on the jewelry, which took about 3 hours to do. But this doll has a lot of jewelry, and I think it just really ties it all together. This doll's on house arrest for looking so fabulous. Someone's watching me. This Barbie looks like she went to K Jewelers and said, "I'll take it all." Making jewelry can be really tedious, but look, it's all coming together, and I think we're ready.
Barbie, you're beautiful. You make me feel my Barbie doll is really real. Barbie's small and so petite. Her clothes and figure look so neat. Her dancing outfit rings the bell. At parties she will cast a spell. Purses, hats, and gloves galore, and all the gadgets gals adore. Someday I'm gonna be exactly like you. Till then I know just what I'll do. Barbie, beautiful Barbie, I'll make believe that I am you.
You can tell it's Mattel. It's swell.
Well, that is my interpretation of Barbie. And yes, this doll only cost me $50 to make. So if you're a bitch on a budget and you've got a little bit of talent, Try your own hand at designing a Barbie because you never know what you're capable of until you try it.